I was born in Gary, Indiana. Didn't live there very long. My mother's family were all U.S. Steel people. When I was just under a year old, my dad got a different job up in Chicago, so they moved up to the Chicago suburbs. But we spent a lot of time in Gary and the environs growing up. I think that my experience was really obviously shaped by parents. I can remember, during the war, my mother and father both volunteered to go bottle blood at the local Baxter Laboratories plant in the evenings. My mother was always a volunteer with some sort of women's organization, sewing little layettes for the poor kids in the county hospital and going down to weigh babies. And she was just always doing things like that. So, while they weren't big financial donors in any sense, they were both strong volunteers. Mother bought the materials to make the layettes and things, and my sister, who is 10 years older than I, as I was growing up, of course, was in college, and that was a real expense to the family, even though she had some scholarship help. So there was always these questions about how do we allocate some money. Now, we didn't do a lot of talk about money, but at least it was, something that we felt we ought to do. Whether it was discussed in detail of how many dollars it took wasn't the issue, but it was just what you did. Grew up in a local Presbyterian church and went Sunday school, sang in the choir. When I went off to college, taught Sunday school at the Presbyterian church around the corner. So that was part of it. In junior high school, a gang of my girlfriends from that I grew up with and I were bored in the summers and couldn't figure out what to do. So one of the mothers said, why don't you go down and volunteer at the hospital or, go to the library or something. So we spent several summers doing fun projects for the hospital, which we did, as a social event to get together, but it was making vases for the flowers that people bring when they didn't bring a vase, or, folding something or rolling bandages. It was all just actual participation, but we did it as a group. It was fun. I went to a women's liberal arts college in Pittsburgh, Chatham College, and I majored in art and minored in French, which ideally prepares you to do anything in the world, except get a job. But it was a wonderful experience. So, and part of what we did there was also, although it wasn't in the same sense the service learning component that a lot of schools have now, there was a tradition in a very small women's liberal arts college of doing something outside the campus. So, as I said, I taught Sunday school and did some reading in the library, in the public library, to groups of kids to come in and hear stories. And after we got married, I joined a women's service organization, the Junior League, in Evanston, and was there for a year before or 3 years before we moved to California. And then, stayed active out here in the Junior League, was its president for 1 year, and just did tons of volunteer work through that. I started in high school art and ended up, when we lived in Illinois, for 7 years in elementary school art. And then when we moved to California, Cliff had a business in Chicago that he thought he could, hire somebody to run, and we'd have a retirement, not literally, but, be able to support ourselves until we figured out what we'd do in California, because we didn't have jobs or anything. We just decided to move here 1 year. And 3 months later, we lived here. Yeah, exactly. Well, we'd met in San Francisco, so the state was attractive to both of us, but we ended up in the southern part. So we went into business together doing this marketing business in San Diego, which is how I got introduced doing the marketing to the foundation. I don't consider that, the diverse as the background has been, that it isn't all basically the same thing, which is I think of myself as a salesman. That's probably a bad word that an awful lot of people wouldn't want to hear, but I was selling to kids the excitement and value of learning and learning how to learn and staying active. Selling when we had a business, selling our products to everybody. And I think in the world of philanthropy, I'm selling the joy of giving. My first exposure to the Community Foundation was in San Diego, where I was volunteering to the brand new San Diego Community Foundation to do some marketing for them. My husband and I had a marketing company, and we were able to do direct mail marketing and contact people with individually done letters and very professional communications. So I was working with the executive director, and she left to go to a bigger foundation. At the time, we sold our business and prevailed upon me to join that foundation. So I served 10 years at the San Diego Community Foundation, and we had a really dramatic growth over that time, and a very active and exciting community foundation. And I was getting calls from around the country to come help others grow their foundations, and realized that was really what I liked. During my time at San Diego, I had been invited by Lilly to submit a proposal to promote nationally a little program that two of our consultants had been presenting for me on endowment building workshops for nonprofit organizations. And we took that with some Lilly support to the National Community Foundation Conference for, I think, 3 years. So that was how I first met Charles Johnson and the Lilly Endowment, and that was in probably 87 or something like that. Then I was invited to Indiana as part of the work that we were doing with Eugene Struckhoff. You may recall that he took, I think, 5 or 6 people to be kind of protégés of his to do some of the consulting as the field was growing. And I was one of those people, and ended up with an assignment in Indiana, talking to a very small group, because there were only half a dozen foundations there, about growing community foundations and that sort of thing, and bumped again into Lilly Endowment. And in 91, they asked me, actually in the fall of 90, to come for a day-long meeting with Struck to discuss the possibility, under Charles's leadership, of doing something with community foundations in Indiana. And we had a great discussion, and we represented two rather distinctly different points of view, in that Struck likes 250,000 people in a community to have a community foundation. I liked working with smaller ones, and said there's, lots of ways you can be very effective without having that population base. So we had a very good back and forth debate with the president of the endowment and Charles and two of their other vice presidents. And that resulted in an invitation to me to try and send them some ideas and designs about a program for Indiana. And in May of 1990, we launched the GIFT initiative. What kept me in the field is really the fact that I get paid to work with people all over the country who are giving their own money and their time and their energy to make a better place to live. What's wrong with this picture? Other than that I'm getting old, and it's about time that my memory is beginning to slip. There couldn't be more gratifying work in the world.
Yes, I understand.
Everything I do is teaching, and probably when I'm not working anymore, and I'm not really working at the level we were. My business office closed 5 years ago. I don't have to supervise 15 employees anymore and worry about 5 other consultants. So I consider this as partial retirement at least. But I don't see any reason to quit as long as I have good health and good fortune to get some work that's meaningful.
Absolutely.